Do you feel like you're not in control? Do you feel like life keeps on happening to you, yet you feel unable to respond? You find yourself wasting so much time doing things that you end up regretting later, like doom scrolling, watching porn, and that other bad habit you do when no one is watching. It sucks. Having that feeling where it seems like your life is going in shambles and not knowing what to do about it. School, work, and life just keeps on handing you demands that you were honestly not prepared for, but regardless, you're still required to deal with them. If you're going through something like this, I know exactly how you feel. And I discovered 8 no BS steps that can actually help you gain a greater sense of control in your life. That feeling that makes you feel like you're lost and sometimes wandering in an endless ocean is usually due to a simple problem. You might not really have a clear picture of what you want. I stumbled upon an audiobook called Dare to Be Great by Richard Denny, and he talked about the fact that 95% of people are not specific enough about what they want. Now, why this is important is because as humans, we are goal-oriented creatures. We have evolved to the point where there's literally a part of your brain that is responsible for achieving your goals. Like, it's so crazy. And that is the reticular activating system, aka RAS. Now, I don't know if this has happened to you, but let's say you're having a conversation with your friend about Teslas. Now, haven't you wondered why a few minutes after you have a conversation with your friend, almost always in that same day or in that same week, you would inevitably come across that Tesla? Now, how your RAS works is that it only filters information that will help you attain the goal you impress upon it. Now, a personal experience that I had with this is right before I wrote my first medical qualifying exams. I stumbled upon this concept and I decided to experiment with it. I decided to write down the goal of 98%. Now, I know it does sound ludicrous, but I decided to try it out. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to try, yeah? I wrote down that goal, and every day while I was studying, that piece of paper was always before me. And over a couple of months, my studying took on another level of focus and intentionality. And eventually, when the results did come out, I ended up getting 97.6%, which, if we're going to use approximations, would give me that goal of 98%. Now, when you decide on a goal, it activates this part of your brain to help you filter information that would help you achieve that goal quicker. The information that you would have otherwise thrown away are allowed to come into your conscious mind. It's one thing to figure out what you want, it's another thing to actually achieve it. Now, this step requires you to think about the bottlenecks and the things that can actually stop you from achieving your goal. Is it going to be that friend, or is it that bad habit that constantly reduces your self-discipline every time you indulge in it? Now, one of the things that I've realized about successful people is that what makes them different from others is not the fact that they have more things, it's usually the fact that they have taken away a lot of things. The average person probably would be subscribed to Netflix, Hulu, Showtime, or some other streaming service, while high achievers might not actually be into that. They've stripped those things out of their lives and giving them much more time to actually focus on the things that move the needle forward. Finding your roadblocks is not really a case of you looking for something to add, but actually most times is a case of looking for avenues on where you can actually reduce. There's a really popular saying, your greatest enemy is the enemy that you do not see coming. So actually taking the time to address the potential barriers that might arise in the course of attaining your goal is one way to actually prevent blind spots that significantly impact your ability to actually achieve what you want. I've noticed that when you constantly fixate on your problems and on your circumstances, they tend to appear to be much more bigger than they actually are. Compared to when you begin to think beyond yourself and expand your scope of thinking, those problems that seemed like a mountain eventually morphs into a pebble. Now, this begs the question, how do we switch our mind from thinking about ourselves to thinking about something much bigger than ourselves? The ways that I've actually found to help me do this, although it may sound crazy to some, is by prayer and serving others. Prayer helps me to switch from my immediate circumstance to thinking about something or someone much greater than myself. Now, if you're not a fan of prayer, helping others or serving others in whatever capacity actually takes your mind away from yourself and your problems to focus more on other people. These exercises gives you the opportunity to actually view your problems from a much more higher perspective. To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear. There are countless studies about the effects of exercise on our cognition and our mental abilities, but there's one study that stuck out to me during my research, and that was one that studied about 1,923 college students on the effects of exercise and the sense of control they felt they had in their lives. And what was discovered was that exercise actually had a high correlation with your level of self-efficacy. Now, if you don't know what self-efficacy is, it essentially means the feeling of control that one has in one's life. That little push-up or run you do every morning, or that little jumping jack, can actually spell the difference between feeling like you have total control and feeling like you have no control at all. Does thou love life? Then do not squander time, for that is the stuff life is made of. Taking the time to plan and to set an intention for your day, according to various studies, have been linked to enhanced time management, greater focus and concentration, increased productivity, and the attainment of long-term goals. Sometimes that feeling of feeling lost could actually be due to the fact that you don't really have a structure or an idea of how your day is going to go, leaving you in that constant state of rolling with the punches and being reactive and not being responsive. I might sound like a broken record, but it's been shown countless times that gratitude has positive effects on your mood and can also play a huge role on the sense of control you have over your life. Now that's because gratitude forces you to shift your focus from things that are not working to things that are working. And according to the law of focus, what you focus on will inevitably grow and increase in number, compared to if you're always being in the negative and not really seeing the bright side of things and only focused on the things that are not working in your life. Because there's a really famous quote by Albert Einstein that says, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used to create them." Keeping your mind in the negative or in a problematic state might actually compound the problem rather than solving it. But actually being in a state of gratitude takes your mind from that mental state that caused the problem in the first place into one that would actually increase the likelihood of you actually finding solutions to those problems. We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Your perception of reality is largely determined by how you think about life. When your thoughts are predominantly negative, the way you view your reality will inevitably be negative. If your most dominant thoughts cause you to have a limiting mindset, you would actually never find yourself progress beyond a certain point, because you would unknowingly and subconsciously sabotage yourself when you are about to cross it. When you always look down on yourself, when you always talk bad about yourself, when you always see yourself as smaller than you actually are, when you think everyone else has an edge over you, you are creating patterns of thinking that will inevitably limit you to a point where even God might not be able to help you. Now, I'm sure some religious people out there are really going crazy on that statement, but let me show you something. For context, what I'm going to show you has a background of when the Israelites were leaving the land of slavery. Their mindset was predominantly negative. And in the book of Psalm 78 verse 41, again and again, they turned away and tempted God to kill them and limited the Holy One of Israel from giving them his blessings. Now, I don't want to sound religious, but it's quite obvious even biblically that the way you think can actually limit you in more ways than you can imagine. According to a 2019 study on predicting the internal locus of control of individuals, they discovered that your sleep has a high correlation on your internal locus of control. I'm sure you're probably wondering, what is internal locus of control? This is basically the feeling that you have of control over the events of your life. Now, when we actually neglect our sleep, we are more likely to have the feeling like we have no control over what happens to us. Now, one way that I found to actually improve your sleep is by waking up and sleeping at a particular time. Now, when you can stick to a routine of getting up and sleeping, you actually make your life to go into a pattern. And when your life has some certain degree of structure, it gives you a sense of feeling that you have more control over that type of life compared to having a sleep routine that is disorganized. Our wisdom nugget for the week: as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And guys, if you like this video, I think you're really going to love this video about scientifically proven ways to study smarter and not harder. And guys, if some point resonated with you, I would love to see your thoughts about it in the comment section. And if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't, so you can get more videos like this one. And with that, guys, remember to always keep it real. Bye, guys.